Oh, we're live. Hello, Alex.
Hi, Simon.
How are you?
Yeah,
Lovely
good.
to see you again.
Thanks for
So you're
inviting me.
gonna great. You're gonna give us a overview of Spider software. So I must admit I'm not familiar with Spider software at all, right? Apart from all your posts, and I think the guys at Spider Software owe you a beer or three because you are a proponent, and it sounds great. So I'm looking forward to seeing.
Okay, let's structure this in certain ways. So you know planning scheduling probably better than me. So please feel free to interrupt me any moments, and you have any questions. If you want to compare these any tools, MS Project Primavera, we can do that. You say, oh look, in MS Project I can do that, and so or we can talk about like what you like it, don't like it. Provide your feedback as well. So and we can touch different areas. So we have certain plan, but let's see which ways it goes. I will try not to go too deep for these ones, but if it will be interest for any particular methods, we maybe can discuss additionally to that.
We can come back to it, mate. That's a good idea.
Are you okay with the plan?
I'm okay with that plan. Now let me share your screen. You're in charge.
Okay, great. Okay, so before we go and just do a demonstration of a Spider project, I want to tell a little bit story about like this software, because I think story is amazing for me. And as you know, that's I'm from Ukraine. It was a part of Soviet Union. And in Soviet Union, being a planned economy, when anything was planned, it was planned from an idea of you understanding your constraint first, and then you removing your constraints and you considering that something was a must. So also, because it was no private companies, anything was belonged to government, so people need to be paid, and it was paid by corporate norms. So idea of norms was everywhere. So but people were not necessarily interested to deliver project earlier, because as soon as they've done that, there will be their next plan. So people was quite resistant on that. So the situation is completely changed in two things. First one, when it was politically important projects, when you cannot be late, when you're building like Olympic Village, for example, and it was on something like that. So it's like reputational things. Or when you're a private company. So when you're a private company, so you're interested. So and that's what is a time when interest to Spider ideas and raised. And Spider is not just a tool; it's actually a methodology. And that's because there was no tools which can support this methodology. Guys Vladimir developed this tool to implement these ideas. So it's not like methodology agnostic; it is methodology based.
Okay, it's a very prescriptive method.
A method called success-driven project management, and actually I can a little bit touch on that. On their website, you can go like spiderproject.pro, and there is actually publications
in the description afterwards.
Okay, so you can see there is a lot of publications. And there is a lot of presentations from all last 30 years. So there's 30 years of this software was when these methods was presented. And you can see some of them is being recently in CPM conference in America, but some of them going back to 1998. And if you open this presentation, all present or Lisbon on PMI technology, there are 2000, so 24 years ago. So you actually find these methodologies not changed much since then. So there are some improvements and some others. So anyone who's interested in methodology base, so they are actually trying to share this methodology and learn the methodology first. And then they say, okay, this is software which supporting it. It's a resource critical chain ideas paper in PMI Europe 2001 on that. So software exists in different versions. It's a light version. Let me see where I can compare versions. So versions exist. I think is the three main versions. Is a light version, a desktop pro and pro. So 4 versions. on that. But even light version is much more functional. That's like MS Project and Primavera. So if you will try to compare, I think I have comparison table. I will not, like, if people are interested, they can go and see it themselves, but just show where to find that. So if I go to comparing to other products, and there was comparison done to MS Project and Primavera, and you can see they compare light version and pro version. And you, as an absolute expert MS Project, we can maybe a little bit touch that. So you can see there's certain areas like multiple WBS, RBS, material breakdown structures, effort-based planning, switching and triggers type of activities, skills-based and multi-resource type of scheduling, point-to-point dependencies, resource dependencies, specific type of dependencies. It's a lot about resource assignments. So this pretty much Spider is all about resources. So there's a big focus on resources. It's also big. Also, cost is like the must component on that. So you just, because you need to do time cost balance decisions, so cost need to be part of these models. Calendars is the calendars. There are different scheduling methods. Some of them just common, but there are some advances. I will touch this little bit today, and so on, so on. I don't want to just continue too much, but again, if people want to see, we can give them a link. They can see that. And last point I want to make, that this software has been initially created not for sale. It was created for themselves to deliver projects, and that's been for quite a long period of time. So they don't have any partners at all. So they was just own programmers, and all feedback they was received from own planning consultant to say, look, on this project I cannot do that. Can you develop that? And they still continue delivering these projects. So they're receiving feedback what's not working well from own consultant who deliver these projects. But also what happened then, they never have marketing team. They still don't. So there's never been like advertise, purchase our software. But people who've been in these projects move from one organization to another and say, can we buy that? Where can we buy that? So, and then what happened with us when we're looking for certain methodology, we find that and say, look, can we be your partner? So we conduct this, and so and still today, its feedback is quite short. So they're receiving feedback from trainings users. During trainings, they may receive some feedback, as tool cannot do that. And they do quite a lot of releases. A second, just show releases. So where is releases? So in tool, we can do what is new. And they do roughly around 9-10 releases each year. And it's not like monthly based. Sometimes you can see a couple of releases in same months. You can see this July, then 2 releases in August. There was 2 in September. So you can see March. And you can scroll history back to 2006.
I like the idea of consultant feedback. I think one of the problems Microsoft has sometimes, it just doesn't listen enough for its product development from in the field. I would say a lot of the stuff I saw in that quick glimpse of the gaps that you've identified that Spider does, that Project doesn't. Mm-hmm. I would say most of those gaps we probably do cover with Project Server, and inside Project Server, there we have the capability, like the resource critical path, as we discussed before. You know, that's where we would generate the report to give it to us. Obviously, if it's done natively, that's even better, right? Yeah, but there's He has all my notifications.
I think they do something what is obvious for me. I think you are familiar with this very nice website, Planning Planet.
I haven't touched on that for a lot, but go on, please.
But there are forums. There is a forum for Primavera, there is forum for MS Project, and people come to these with their problems. And say, how can you do that? Until so sometimes consultant helps each another, but sometimes you reach this software bottleneck. Oh, this cannot be done. So, and product managers for Spider actually on this forum for like 20 years, and there is actually local forums in different languages. What I haven't mentioned, there are different languages. This in English, Russian, Spanish, Portuguese, and Romanian. So they have Spider exists in different languages. But they actually sit in these forums and they can see whether there's something what they will consider to them in tools. And there is one particular metrics which called flags, and was invented maybe 15 years ago, maybe 20, around that. But there is actually dialogue on this forum when Stephen DeWar and some others come to idea, I have this problem, how do you do that? And then was quickly discussed. In a week time, they say, look, we've done this in Spider, have a look, is it what you need?
Yeah.
So that loop is missing for many planning softwares, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've been too long. So let's jump to software. So yeah, you can see the screen. So it's a multi-screen environment, which means you might have different all screen open at once. So if you're using different screens, you don't need to like open and close screen. So you can keep this and put as a big dashboard. And one of them is your list of your projects. So you can see projects and documents.
Yep.
And there is a version control for all projects. And this version control is not just for convenience for users, it's actually used for analysis. So when you run trend analysis, system know this all previous version, or you can point out which one you're interested in, so they can analyze what's been changed over the time, considering all different versions. So, and what happened, this forensic analysis almost does not exist, because you actually go to this version when what happens, and you can exactly know what happens at that time. You don't need to take in latest version and roll back to understand what was before.
So your version is on a save, or is that a different action?
It's a different files. It's a different files. So each version is a different files.
So in part of your versioning is, let's say you've got a schedule up, and you say, I'm going to save this as version 1. So does that include like a draft versus a publish version, or is that simply up to the person to decide?
Up to the person which version and how you will do that. But every time when you will provide actuals, collect actuals, system automatically asks you if you want to save it as a new version now.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
So that's almost automatic process.
So you could use that as your status state for
yes.
value.
You can do this, but also system automatically do backups. That's something what was always difficult with Project Online. So, and you can configure how many automatic backups is done and how often they've done.
Yeah.
So they automatically save in folders, and you can say, I want to backup every 10 minutes, and I want 10 backups, rolling backups. So you always can back.
Tend to turn that off for the reason that people do what ifs and then find themselves saving over what they didn't want to save over. So
it's just backup files. They're not hurt you.
I'm talking about project. So in MS Project, someone opens up their project manager opens the project, working away on a what if scenario, trying to plan around a problem or something, and the auto saves their imaginary forecast, right? Save, not publish, so it's not the world, but they find themselves undone. So I've always determined to turn that off as part of the config and say you're going to do a manual save or you do a manual publish. So I don't mind either way. But.
I normally just create it as a new version. So version is, some of them are published in formal version, but some version for analysis. So I will just, if I do what-if analysis, I will immediately save the new version, and this will be code. I can actually put in description, say with my what-if analysis on that. So, but idea of backup was when I'm working with certain files, system on backend, some in separate folder create some backups. If something happens, I can go back and just reopen these backups. So I opened one of these projects, maybe 1 kilometer of road, version 5, just to give a sense for people. And then we will start from new projects. Sure. So you can see there is a 3, not 2, but 3 part, 3 sections. It's quite convenient because sometimes you're working with certain fields and you just want to hide them. Yeah. And you immediately open them again. So any of this column, you can say show columns, and there are quite a lot of different columns. You can add these columns and you can search on them. You can do for example, assign resources, and you can see
columns.
But columns normally not used for resources, and say hide. So what happened with the resources, you actually under each activity you may see which resources are used. Yeah. So and there is a view when you can have view with all the resources shown to bottom, or you can say show me activity view only. So if you need to go analysis of resources, you can just go and you can
drill
see
down into those assignments.
So that is more convenient. So columns normally, in column is good if I want to do some assignments or some volume of work for particular type of resources. So that's when I'm working with the columns, and I create each resource actually separate column. But normally that's a way. So with timeline, a column can be just drag and moved on that. So and right part is so there's a timeline. It's quite smoothly. You can see there's many steps how you can do that, and actually it can be done up to seconds. So if I go to project property, you define what and how you want to see, and you can see dates only. You can see dates and minutes, but you actually can see date, minutes, and seconds. I've been a couple times in project when each minute is matter, particularly when we're working with certain time window, short-term window, you have 2 hours, or you do like maintenance project, which you really want to do for analysis, you go into seconds for these projects. So I remember projects.
I've been in a second scenario, but I've been in the minutes. Things like software release. If there's tasks to do during the software release, you want to make that as small as possible, and you want to be as precise as possible when it's going to occur and when it's going to finish. So I can appreciate that a lot, because normally with project, you take it out as a separate run sheet and hand that to the resource. So the task might be like software release, X date, X hour, but then you've got to actually take it more granular via a run sheet for the individual items, because you probably clutter projects over more. But that's good. I like that.
It's very specific. I would say not, of course, not each project need that, and not many at all. But if needed, they have that. Also, so just go to project properties, and so you can say name, code, and there is storage. So there is different storages. You can configure different storages for different programs. So whatever, you can have control on these storages as well. So you can say who have control access. And descriptions and the calendars, start and dates, I think is all common. With date format, so what possible, you might, for example, can say, give me dates only here, and you can say they changed. But you also, each column can be configured separately. For example, if I go to this finish column and say for this finish, I actually want to see dates and minutes. So you can see whole system by default will be only dates.
Yeah.
And I can see numbers. I can see without decimals, but then say I want to see one decimal just for this particular column. So you can configure that.
Okay. What about custom columns? If you've, let's use an example. Say you've got your expenses there. But you also want expenses in US dollars, and you just want to calculate based on a multiplier because it's going to be $1.2.
You can do many custom formulas. You can do formulas on them as well. So, but let me go to another screen first. That's something what I called a Spider Project Universe. So any scheduling software, it's a lot of tables. And in many tools, you have front-end access only for certain tables. So what they do, they give you access to these all tables. So you can all access them, you can all modify them, you can see data on that. So you can see, and you can see user fields. So you can see create these like user fields if needed. So, and these are like some configuration formulas on that. So, and you can go just activities list. So we've done on just activities. It's not Gantt chart. It's just list of all activities and projects. But also I can see all links. So I can go and can see this is my table of all dependencies. So that's what I'm desperately missing in other tools. Give me table of my dependencies. I want to analyze them. I want to see which of them with lag, which of them without lead, and I want to analyze them to see what has changed.
The change is good. I assume you so if you've got a finish to start in project, you'll just get a push. If you change the forecast, it'll just push the next dependency along. So I'm not sure.
Okay, so let's ask you simple questions. I want to see only activity which have a legs.
Yeah, sure. Then you can do a view in project to show you all the lag.
No. Just activity which only have a lag. So and these could be lag as one of predecessors.
Oh, dropped out for a minute there.
So
might need to do an edit. So I see this as a view, and you just pick the fields you want to see. So if you want to see the lag or the lead, or you want to see the type of dependency, the one thing you've got there that we probably don't is the lag type, whether it's volume or time.
Yeah, we'll cover that in a second. So you can add like many columns, many characteristics, but this is not just a view, Simon. So I can apply filter to this view, and when I will back to Gantt chart, I will see only activity with this active filter.
Yeah, it's pretty much all the same. So if you just wanted to see, if you wanted to add, if you just wanted all the finish type dependency tasks, then you apply the same filter.
But you apply filter to activities in MS Project, not to dependencies.
Well, to
Because activity may have many dependencies.
Yeah. So if let's say you've got a number of tasks that have a finished start, you will see all the tasks that have that finished start. Yeah, that have a finished start as a type. Now, if you want to say, okay, I want finished start only for this task, then you got to work out the ID of the dependency, and then you filter on the ID as well. So, so you can get there. It's a lot of messing around. I'm trying to think of a scenario where I've ever done it. Never have.
Maybe we can show later, so prepare example to show when you can find certain things which you would not able to filter in a MS project. But idea is, so there is many tables, so you can see, you can open like pretty much any table, like WBS, OBS, location chart, and you can access all your from menu, or normally do for this screen. You can see and value analysis, risk Gantt chart, and so on. So, but let me start.
I'd love to see your risk Gantt, how that works.
It's actually a new feature there that only 1 year, like probably a year ago. So idea is when you link in this, I'll just give you idea. So when link a risk linked to activities, you should be able to say when each risk start and finish.
Okay, so is it talking about the mitigation activity or contingency or both? So
look, activities. So you say these certain activities under risk. So when you do risk not just exists in, look, there are general risks. That's a different story. But there are risks which associated with particular part of projects. And for these activities, you say, okay, which activities could be impacted by this risk? I mean, direct impact, because it will be following effect. And say, okay, these activities will be impacted. So when say, okay, that is when this risk time is occur. So if these three activities is under risk, so there's my time window for this risk. So, and you can, having this risk, you can put them in Gantt chart view and can say, this is all my risk, and that's when this risk may occur. But it's a quite new feature. So just quickly go through other menus. Things which are absolutely in love is called a resource Gantt chart. So I can see all my resources in context of my activities. So rather than to have activity and then resources to assign to that, like you said, this is my resource and these are all activities associated to this resource. You immediately can see visually what happens.
Yeah.
So, and this is also very useful for analysis. So sometimes when I've been optimizing resource leveling, these things, I can see which resources underutilized visually. So sometimes I find it's much easier than to see from data. So for example, I can see immediately on this work, I can see this assigned to these activities, but also assigned to these other activities, there is a gap. So you immediately visually can see that.
And the red means over allocation?
Look, it's a lot of analysis with the over allocation. So there is a special report when you can see which is over allocated, and you can run these some reports. So at the bottom, you can see allocation and over allocation.
Oh, okay.
As you can see, you can run these reports straight away on let's see. So yes, so with resources, so activities of your resource tables, so you can see all your resources, and you can put your quantity, so you can see it's supply versus demand, so you can see how many resources is available. You also can specify that some resources will be available from particular date. So you may say, okay,
so these are your material resources.
Material or equipment, you say, okay, I have one bulldozer now, but from that day, the second bulldozer will be available.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So number 10 is the driver. So that's a person.
Yeah, you can see these all type of resources. There's equipment and people.
Yep.
So if I click on each of these table, I can see all characteristics associated to this record. These, in these cases, resources. I can see all characteristics and all assignments. These all course component, all materials associated with. Like you can see, free foil for grader. And you can see user field is if you want a custom field, you can have some additional metadata if you want. Resource centers, you can group these resources in many different ways. It's not predefined. You can decide it where you want to group it. Skills, so you can see these belong. We have two groups of skills, which are bulldozers and excavators. So I have multiple excavators and multiple bulldozers, but they all belong to particular skill. So that's what called pool of resources or skill of resources. It's like different terminology, but same thing. Resource production, that's something what might happen, one part of project produce resources which will be used by another part of projects. For example, if you do some assembly, whatever you produce in certain, and these could be fully reutilized, or you may use some of part you go into other project, but some we actually reutilize on these projects. So you need.
So would you use that as a dependency, like until this resource is produced, then we can't do activity B? I'll give you an example. Tell me if I'm completely off here. Let's say you're creating tarmac for a road. Is that the idea of the sort of resource that gets produced? Because it needs to be produced / delivered to site before the next stage of the road build occurs.
Okay, let's assume in one part of project you produce blocks.
Yeah.
And in another part of project use these blocks. So you have quantity of blocks ups and down. So depending, this is production, this is consumption. So from dependencies, yes, you have activity which need this resource. So, but quantity, you may have ideally something in stock, so you never delay because it's not available, but it's potentially possible.
Yeah.
So if for whatever reason you delay production of these blocks, some other activities may not able to start because block is not available.
Okay, so it is a dependency. It's a resource dependency.
It's a resource dependency,
yeah. And it's is it actualized? Like, as a PM, you say, I forecast to have 6 of these blocks made, but only 3 have, and therefore I've got it's going to drive some forecast as a result.
Yes. So you, from resource perspective, you have consumable resources.
Yeah.
So that's will be consumable type of resource.
Okay.
So you have renewable, like people.
Yeah.
So, or equipment, but materials is consumable type of resource. So when you do production, you produce consumable type of resource, and these are consumed by different part of product.
But maybe it's too much, but maybe we come back.
We're going too deep. Yeah, now we will do. Okay. So, but let's start just, for example, as a new project. Like I'm going to say, file is create a new project. A new project can be created straight in a Spider, but you also can do import. You can do import for MS Project or Primavera. So if you already have these files, and I think
what about what if you've got a template of a project you want to use? Let's say there's a particular method that you want the person to use, and you've already put in all those sort of gates and milestones that you want the guy to make sure he includes. And so is that just a case of you're going to distribute a sort of a half-baked
so it's usually is important part of this methodology in general. So idea of success-driven project management, you're not producing schedule for new project each time. So you are breaking projects for small part. And the idea is when you deliver a project again and again, each project is unique, but uniqueness of each project is unique combination of non-unique components. So what you do when you're developing project, you're creating these non-unique components, and then like a Lego, you taking new project which already existing components, and you do scaling. For example, you can see an example which I've opened was 1 kilometer of road. So that's actually the fragment, if you would like, template.
Yeah.
But what is the difference between a template and it's called like actually called fragments. And when you want to do, let's assume you need to do 3 kilometers of road of this type, it's important to know what is scalable. For example, if it's materials, okay, they will be fully scalable. So 3 kilometers will be 3 times more. But if it's resources, I do not need 3 bulldozers. I still need 1 bulldozer. But so, and from workers, you need to specify which scalability of these templates. So that's what is done in the system. And then we have big library of these templates. So and then and this library manager, there is a specific way how you manage this library. So and what happens every time when you run projects and projects not proceed as you plan, you actually analyze why it happens, and it may happen that you need to back and then update this template, or maybe this process has changed. So we have new equipment, new technology. We can do same result different way. So you're not just updating your schedule. You maintain this knowledge center.
Right. So correct me if I'm wrong here. Let's say you say I've got a 5-mile stretch of road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You've got a segment that says 1 and it scales out to 5 for you. So it'll do some resource estimation on the basis of, times 5 as an example.
Mm-hmm.
But then you might discover that one section requires extra sized culverts, or one section actually is on unstable ground and needs different works. So then are you feeding back into the network to say,
No.
segment looks like that? Okay.
Yeah. So you're breaking these in the standard types. So what you explained, example, you have 3 different types. So
Okay.
standard road which require that. So you will create 3 templates, not just one template. You take template and just readjust for this particular project. So you rather than say, okay, there is like certain fragments which is not typical to other. So you will do this as a separate fragment. So when you put in this, okay, 1.5 kilometer like that, 200 meters like that, like 1 kilometer like that. So you breaking them in, as I say, reusable. It's always reusable fragments.
Okay, great. Let's have a look. Sorry to interrupt, mate.
Okay.
I took us to a rabbit, Warren. Sorry.
Yeah. So when you're creating like new projects, so you put, I say, a certain characteristic, and we say, okay, Simon renovation, if you don't mind. Renovation, we discussed that. Yeah, Simon's renovation projects. Renovation. Sorry. Different screens. Project. And you put code and say, okay, we'll call it renovation project. Renovation project 1. And you put some characteristics. You can later do baseline. You can say what would be your default formattings and so on. So, and you start activities. So you need to create WBS for your projects. And you can do this multiple ways. You can say create new phase, and you can say create phase on same level or lower level. So let's assume you can do in so level 0. So create create add new phase on level lower, so you can see and say copy, and you can say paste on same level, and it will be windows which asking you some characteristics. So when you're creating these levels, and you can do insert, by the way. What is my insert on this laptop? So you can see there's a lot of hotkeys. They're all written here. There's Control I. So this is a Control I. We can do because activities, or we can do new phase will be on same level Alt Control Shift I. Control Shift I, and that's actually what is important, because a typical size of schedules in Spider could be easily like 20,000, 30,000, and it's a lot of done for planners to do things quicker. So time is matter. So there's a lot of these minor tiny features which have in the tip of fingers. So you can start editing some information here, but you actually copy paste from Excel. So, for example, if you have something in Excel, you just do copy paste here. With activities, so before we go into activities, so I have certain phases, and I can go to my universe and open WBS chart, so we can continue developing phases from this view. So I can create separate views, but there is actually multiple WBSs. So there will be one of WBS, which is your main WBS, primary WBS, but you can develop as many WBS as you want. And this normally recommended 3 and 4.
So this is for categorization. Like you might have a building WBS and a cost breakdown as well.
Okay, I'll give you example. So you're doing renovation, you say, okay, I want to build my breakdown structure like room 1, room 2, kitchen, bathroom, and backyard.
Yeah.
And then you say the like next level, so on. Another person will do renovation and say, I will not do by locations, actually will do by type of works.
Yeah.
So I will do electricity,
Energy.
walls. So activities actually will be exactly same list of activities. So what is WBS? Is a hierarchy of summarization of these ones in certain way. And there is always more than one way to do this. So one will be your primary one. So in a schedule, I just touch that little bit. You can have WBS and you can develop multiple structures. What is important is not a grouping. So now there's some other tools do grouping. In a grouping is just a view to see data in a certain way. But when you have WBS, you're actually able to do analysis of each WBS in a certain way. So you can analyze what is your cost of one room, or you can analyze what is cost electricity across all your rooms. So there will be just different WBSs, and one of them by location, but then you create another by type of works. And you can.
That's good, mate. So you can break it down by the work the electricians are doing, as against to where they're doing it.
Yes. And also another structure which also recommended is responsibility structure. So you can break schedule two way to say who is responsible for which part of schedules. And when you do that, system allowed you to split schedule on sub-schedules. So you give this each sub-schedule to person, he will do update, copy this all updated version in particular folder and say, create new version based on this updated subschedule. So this done automatically. You don't have this problem with integration or reintegration.
Yeah. So does it have a RASCI type feature, like on this activity, this person's responsible, this person's accountable, this person gets informed?
You can have, of course, you can create columns and say this RASCI on that, but it's what is responsibility breakdown structure do? They define who is responsible for which part of project, including doing updates. So you can do contractors, subcontractors, subcontractors. So you can do this matryoshka type easily, and then say, okay, I'll send you to my contractor. Contractors split it for sub 2 contractors. They updated their schedules. They send it to contractor. Contractor pay their part and send. So that's
no, that's anything that puts these structures in place is good. I like this. This is like you can do some what ifs based on electricians not being available, and it's just very easy to go into the WBS and see what the effect is.
So from view perspective, you can see this for like 10 levels, WBSs. You can move to resource level activity. You can show only 2 activities, and you can do LOVA. LOVA could be resources, multi-resources teams. So, or you can, we don't have resources now, but I can say show me to level 2 activities. So then when you go to activity characteristics, you can put what is associated with this activity, and you have name or codes. So codes are very important. So all elements in all table will have a code, and system will automatically check uniqueness of this code in each table. And so in MS Project, this is done from UID on activities. But problem with UID, if things is deleted and recreated, there will be new UID.
Yeah. The WBS will change if you swap it around. There is a ID code that doesn't change. Like if you delete it, it won't be there, but it's hidden for reporting more than anything else.
Yeah, but these codes actually done a lot for analysis and to create these library of elements which I mentioned. So when you create these library of elements, it's important that each activity have a name correctly.
Yeah, but the code itself, it's just saying number 2. So it's not really the W's. Expect to see like a 1.2 or something, or is that?
Look, no. That's you can refer to ID. That's a code. I can say it's activity.
You can nominate the code.
Yeah. No. You can say
it must stay unique. Is that what
say
you're saying?
room 1, 01.
Yeah.
For example.
But it will ensure that you don't accidentally call the next activity the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. So if I will try to do this now, they give me a warning. They say, okay, you can't create same activity.
Gotcha. Very useful.
So let's just go back to activities so you can see you can have types. So let's talk about types. So there is a standard types like duration types of activities similar to MS Project or Primavera. You have hammock, like dedicated type. You have milestones
for people to see, but go through it. Sorry, mate.
Okay, so there are like a duration, hammock, milestone, productivity, switch, and trigger. So so what is productivity? Is a type of activities which durations is driven by volume of work and productivity of resources assigned to these activities. So we discuss, I might have activity which have 2 bulldozers, and my activity is 100 cubic meters. So this will be my primary elements of these activities. But duration, it doesn't have duration as such. Duration only exists depending which resources is assigned, and duration is calculated.
So in project world, productivity would be units. It's like you add more units, gets done quicker. Same drive, effort driven.
Yes, but when you do effort driven, there is one difference. So in effort driven, you're assuming these all resources have same productivity.
Well, okay, I don't want to derail here, but you can set how much units are available per resource as well. So you can say this thing will give less. Let's say it's a smaller bulldozer, it can give less units of effort than this one does.
Okay.
And it's not commonly used. Leave something in the comments if someone's used it previously. But I like the idea of productivity. That's very straightforward.
Productivity is probably the most used type in Spider. So because normally because if you want activity duration to be calculated, it cannot be predefined duration. So you try to measure this as a certain volume, which represented by these activities. And volume could be whatever units. It could be pages we discussed last time. And switch and trigger is for conditional scheduling. So we'll cover this separately, but it's like something that requires.
I think that you're touching on something there that I would like to take into a different, because I think we'll go down a rabbit hole and a half.
Yeah,
exactly. I love the concept if I'm forming in my head what that is. So let's take that offline for next time.
Okay, so from predecessor perspective, so I'll show first one how to do links between activities. They could be done multiple way. One of them can be done directly on Gantt charts. You can see I can grab and link activities. And it immediately asks me what type of activity I want to do. It's the 4 standard types. It's from lag perspective, it have 2 type of lags. It can be done based on time, but these also can be done on volumes, because this volume when productivity based and say I have activity 100 meters. So my lag is 10 meters, not 10 days, not 10 minutes, it's 10 meters. When 10 meters is achieved, I can start. So if my 10 meters take 2 days, that's a starting point.
I like that. That takes a lot of problems that I have in scheduling, where someone can be halfway finished a job, right? And you've got to manually put the lag in, like you've got to do a negative lag to get that happening in MS Project. But it's a manual thing. You'd have to talk to the guy and say, hey, when can this guy start? And he'll say, oh, probably at this point of my task, he could start. So it'd be manual. This looks like it's just like, tell me how much is done, and now we'll trigger the next task.
When you're creating a schedule, there is an existing technological process. And people cannot tell you in minutes, but they can tell you in volume. I say, from volume perspective, we can start when this point is achieved.
Yeah.
But when it's achieved, it depends which type of bulldozer you're going to use. Is a big bulldozer we can do in 2 hours, small bulldozer maybe 5 hours.
Yeah,
I cannot tell you now. I don't know which bulldozer is going to be available at that time. Don't ask me.
Sure.
So another type of, I think also unique, is a double dependency. So what is double dependency? So when you do lag, you always do you lag from predecessor. You can say start plus, I don't know, 50%, for example. You can say middle, but you always do to start or to finish to successor. But what if you want to do dependency from middle of one activity to middle to another activity? So double is your shift against successor start or finish points.
Typically, I would say to people, you have 2 activities.
It's possible, but there are create some problems when you do that. This feature is useful for high-level planning. So when you create a really halfway activities, like very timeline, you want to say, okay, we do this 2 months, and halfway we will start, and there will be like some dependencies on that. Look, once again, these advanced features required probably separate examples to explain in which cases it's useful. So it's also you can classify type of dependencies. So
Okay.
that's something what again. So we can see mandatory external temporary. Never understand why you cannot do these additional fields in other tools, because for me as a planner, this classification is very important. So I want to be able not just say a dependency. I want to
What
work with a type of dependencies.
got you? And the external type, does that let you? Does
It's,
that mean that the predecessor task has to be an external task?
so this is pretty much drop-down list which you can use in filters. So you're creating this list and it says show me is a particular kind, is a particular type.
Gotcha.
On that. From analysis perspective, also you can say whether dependency is used in scheduling or not. So you might have some dependencies, but you don't want this to drive anything. And another big thing is strict. So when you do finish to start, you say successor can start after predecessor is completed, but it can start anytime later. I normally use this example. So I want to prepare a cup of tea. So for cup of tea, I need boil water, put tea in a cup and boil water. So this is a simple schedule. So let's assume what happens if I do first two activities, which is my predecessors, boil water and put tea in a cup. But then decided to do my successor later because the predecessor is done. I will do my last activities tomorrow. I will put water in a cup, so water will be already cold.
Yeah.
Which means is not just finished to start, but a strict immediate after dependency.
Yes.
So if I'm not able to put water straight away, I maybe need to delay my predecessor as well. So sometimes you need to link to activities so they just move like that.
Yeah.
So
But the predecessor, so how that would work in my mind is, okay, you've got two tasks, boil water and then fill cup, all right? But the start to finish to start should just simply, if the boil water gets delayed, then that dependency is going to push the fill cup automatically.
that's one way logic. But let's assume you give one daughter exercise to boil water, and you give to another daughter to put your tea in a cup. And first daughter doing well, and second one open and said there is no tea. We need to go to shop and buy that. She going to shop. First one is done perfectly. She done and finished and gone. So activity is completed. Boil is water. Then you say your second predecessor is not completed, so you need to wait. So then you bring your cup tea and say, yeah, second activity completed. So both predecessors are completed. Perfectly, we can start successor.
Okay, so we've got multiple dependencies.
Yeah, so which means your successor may have strict start immediately after one of predecessors. It's not just finish start. Finish start, that's always mean you can start anytime later.
After the finish.
After the finish. So anytime. Tomorrow,
So
next year.
Strict is it just keeps that finish and start type together.
Yeah.
They can't be finish and then start. That looks backwards on my screen. Anyway, it's like they just have to occur directly after the other. Gotcha.
So yeah, that's once again is defined by technological process and not up to planner to decide it whether this case or not. If technological process require that, you need to be programmed in your schedule.
Yeah.
So that's activity. So what else? Oh, actually, just so you can see some other characteristics, whether it's interruptible or not, and continuous, and some others, whether it will be included and performed in Monte Carlo analysis, and like so on, so on. So you can see all links and you can create dependency directly from this table. You can go to list of activities and link through here if it's more convenient for you. And you can do some search here. If it's have like thousands of activities, you can do by codes. This is why codes, one again, is important. You can do quickly search on them. You can see all the resources associated with this activity here straight away. We talk about production materials, cost, and like some other characteristics.
I think we're going to have to come back and look at resourcing. I just noticed we're just past the hour. I like everything I've seen so far. It looks really good. There's some stuff I need to process because there's a lot.
What we can do, maybe these who will watch video, we'd ask them questions. So which of these they like it, and which of them they want to find more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Alex, can you come back and we can resume?
Yes, we can. Definitely we can. And we can cover resources and some other concept. So you can see I'm trying to do this not just a tool perspective, quick demo. I actually try to cover from methodological perspective why we stop many times and discuss certain concept.
Yeah. And I think it's important we do because it helps me at least cement in my mind how the functionality works, as opposed to my limited sort of Microsoft project world. So I'm finding it very useful.
Key concept of Spider is that planning tool must simulate work how they will be done in real life.
Yeah.
But real life is complex sometimes. So that's why these additional...
This is why we have baselines, forecast, and then actuals, right? Actuals, if we could just do a forecast and leave it at that, everyone would be happy, but it never works like that. Sorry, mate. We will catch up soon. Everyone out there, have a look at Spider Software website. I'll leave some links below. And then we'll be back soon with Alex to go through the rest of it because it's a big piece of software. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks everyone who's watching that. And please feel free to ask Simon or myself. That's what other things you're mostly interested in, what you want to see, and put your challenge as well. So
leave it in the comments, and we'll put it into LinkedIn for people to come up with their ideas there too. Thanks, Alex. Cheers, mate.
Thank you.